are back. See, we're back on the radio show as well. You are listening to IBGR.network. IBGR is our call sign for a radio station, but of course, it's not just a radio station. We are a global network. And I'm your host, Jan Roberts, the inspirational entrepreneur. And this is season 4 and session 3 already. And we're talking about growing up to go up. And it is so important because we need personal growth. We need personal development. And I'm going to talk a little bit more into this, but if you are new to IBGR, if you've never been on here before, we have an app you can download. We are on all the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and if you're watching on Facebook, of course, we've got LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, we've got a YouTube station. Join us and share this with your friends. I mean, because there's more than 40 hosts around the world who share skills in all kinds of different areas. And Thursday for us in our prime zone, or if you're from the military, Zulu, it is the European, UK, Ireland, the Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. That's where this zone is. And there is wonderful hosts coming after me from Nigeria, from Lebanon and South Africa, and all have absolutely amazing information. So join us and, share this with your friends. But Charlie Tremendous Jones, the late Charlie Tremendous Jones, I met him a few times, an amazing guy because everything to him was tremendous. But he said something very profound about the way you shape your future. He said there are 3 things in life that will shape your future. He says, the things you hear, the books you read, and the people you associate with. Now, when you think about it, even looking back to where you've been and what you've done so far, it is very important that you really think into those 3 areas. And I'm going to talk a little bit more into it because these are 3 areas of personal growth. But the things you hear. What are you listening to? Are you in the morning, are you getting up and switching on the news to see how many more disastrous statistics we have for the day? Or are you putting something on that's more motivational, even motivational music, some music that gets you going? What books are you reading? What are you reading actually? The newspaper from cover to cover? How do you feel after you've read the newspaper from cover to cover? Because most of it is bad news. Because the newspapers know bad news sells. The news channel, how often do you get good news on it? In the UK we had things on the news and finally, and we got maybe 30 seconds of some good news. For the rest it was all business closures, financial situations that people couldn't get out of and that countries are stuck in. Blah, blah, it went all on. Now, do we need to be aware of it? I think we're all aware of it. Do we need to hear it on a regular basis every day and every minute of the day? No, we don't. But that's a choice. See, we need to make those choices. But the most important one, I'm going to talk a little bit more into it, but the most important one is the people you associate with. Now, I think it was Les Brown, who's certainly one of them, my friend and mentor, said that your life will shape itself according to the closest 5 people in your life. So if they're all broke, you're probably broke. If they all, and you can fill in the space itself, but you can actually look around you and see the 5 people you are most closely associated with. And I'm not just talking about your family and all that kind of stuff, but I'm talking about, your friends and your acquaintances. Who do you kind of connect with much more? And look at what they do and who they are. Now, if they're all complaining, blamestorming, like in that first group I mentioned in the first session, procrastinating, you're probably, if not exactly the same, fairly similar. Because you grow like that, like crabs in a bucket. And it's very challenging to get out. And if that is the case, remember, it shapes your destiny, it shapes your future. So you might have to change some friends. You might have to change the people you closely associate with. Now, I don't say never associate with them again, but certainly a lot less than you're doing just now. and you need to look for some new people to associate with. I hope that makes sense. But there's 3 areas of personal growth: spiritual, mental, and physical. And if you look at spiritual, that might be, and it's, we're not going to talk about religion. No, we're not going to. But for people, religion, the faith they have, is the spiritual well-being they seek every week, maybe every weekday. It could be meditation. It could be yoga. It could be time reflecting. It could just be quiet time to connect with yourself, without all the stuff that goes on, all the noise of the world, no radio, no news, no nothing, just you. That's the kind of time. We all sometimes need some quiet time, whether it's for meditation or yoga is also good. But there are so many things that you can do to grow spiritually. And it is important for your health and well-being, believe me. So, what are you doing in that area? And I'm going to talk into the personal growth plan very shortly, but these are important areas. The mental side. Now, I'm not talking about being mental like crazy. No. The mental side has to do with the books you read, the videos you watch, the MP4s, the MP3s, what you read and listen to and take in. So how do you grow mentally every day? Now, it's not necessary that you read a book a day or that you read 2 hours every day no. But it's necessary that you do something every day to grow yourself. Because as I said, if you don't grow today, you lose traction. If you snooze, you lose. But if you don't use it, you lose it. And that happens on a daily basis. See, you need to give yourself, we all need to give ourselves 100% every day. Because if we just give ourselves 70% today, you can't save it and give yourself 130% tomorrow. So because it's gone. After the end of the day, when the clock strikes 12, and that is in any country, the day is gone. The new day starts. You can give yourself another 100%. But yes, you can. People talk about give yourself 130%. Yes, give yourself as much as you can. That's what it means. But if you give yourself 50% today, I'll do it again tomorrow. Personal development is also like that. The mental side. How do you stimulate your brain? What positive thing goes in? They say garbage in, garbage out. Now, I'm a more positive kind of person, so I say Kiko. Quality in, quality out. See, you can't always stop things going in, but you can decide and you can choose how long you let them go around. Like if somebody insults you, you can have all day and you can just say, okay, what do they know? They don't know me, goodbye, and let it go. It's a simple example, but if you let it go all day, you have a horrible day probably, and you're angry, frustrated, stressed, disappointed even. And at the end of the day, you ask the person, and you want to grab them by the throat because now you're really angry, which doesn't do not a good either. And they probably have a viable excuse. They might not have knowingly insulted you, but you felt insulted, and maybe they'll apologize. Say, I never meant that. Yet your whole day was wrong. And who did that? You, not them. Because you choose. I talked about this at Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning. Long story, but his concentration camp. He says the one thing people can never take away from you is that your freedom to choose. Your freedom to choose your own attitude. Mental freedom, mental stimulation. It's so important. And I'll talk a little bit more into that. But that's why you need to read positive things. That's why you need positive YouTube stuff. That's why you need to get something uplifting to read, something inspiring, even a lovely story without all the violence and all, but something lovely, calming, maybe just inspirational, spiritual music, that kind of wonderful music that you can really relax in, but it's helping you spiritually as well as mentally. Now, physical. Now, there's another thing. Straight away people think about exercise. Yes, how much exercise do you do a day? How much exercise do you do a week? And it's important, of course, but also the eating habits and the sleeping time. So exercise, eating habits and sleeping time. Now, if I looked in your fridge and in your cupboards, what kind of food do you have in there? Processed? Or is there some healthy food in there in your fridge, like salads and unprocessed foods? It's not the fast food restaurants, as if we can even get to them now, but it's not just fast food you live on, there's actually some health. Now, all in good time, and all all can be done in small doses. So you might have seen Super Size Me, where a guy lived on fast food for 30 days. I don't want to mention the name of McDonald's, but he lived on fast food for 30 days. But he was ill at the end of it. So, but every now and then to have a fast food or to have some processed food and all that, but every day it's creating bad things inside of you. It's working against you from the inside, and that's where we need to develop ourselves in every way. So, the eating habits, the exercise. Now, I don't mean you need to stand on a treadmill for 2 hours a day or go for long hikes. No. 30 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, 3 times a week. If you don't do anything just now, 3 times a week for 30 minutes, that's a great start. If you could do some every day, like reflection, 5 minutes a day for your mental and spiritual time, 5 minutes for self-reflection, 5 minutes to listen to a video in the morning and at night, or watch a video, 5 minutes to read a chapter of a book most days. You get it. It's not hours at a time, but it's some, like half an hour. 15 minutes is better than nothing. 15 minutes a day. So divide a half an hour, maybe 10 minutes spiritual, 10 minutes mental, and 10 minutes physical, or maybe 20 minutes physical today, and tomorrow you spend 20 minutes mental and some spiritual. So mix and match type of thing, but make sure you keep doing it. Now, we're near the end again. I mean, I'm just getting so carried away with this stuff. So if you're with us, join us on Facebook, Instagram, and every other channel. But don't leave us when you're on the radio, because we'll be back in a few minutes at ibtr.radio. Don't go away.